and welcome to our second PowerPoint, European Explorers. This is going to be a little bit of an introduction into just the beginning of American history and how it was decided that there needed to be a new trade route for Europeans, and it led to the uncovering of America. America already existed. Europeans didn't know about it. All right, so our first slide here is talking about European explorations. So on the little map here, you can see a flashing kind of red lines going through there. So you see Europe is located on the left over there, and then China, India are over more towards the right and towards the bottom. And basically you need to understand is that Europeans, they wanted to get to China. They wanted to get to India. That was where the silks and the spices and all of the things that they wanted were located. Well, you can see based off the map here that the only way to get there was either travel by land or possibly travel through the Mediterranean Sea and then around by the bottom of India. But that was very dangerous because the sea was controlled and by, pirates and different things that it just wasn't a great option. Or you could sail around the tip of Africa all the way to the bottom and it'd take you a really long time. So at this time, Europeans were interested in the spices and silks from Asia. That's what they wanted. Europe wanted what Asia had. So they were interested in spreading their Christianity to that culture that was located in the Middle East and then over into Asia. But they also wanted to get rich. And they thought that if they could get the gold and they could get the silks and the spices and they could bring it back to Europe, they could make a great profit from that. So they wanted to figure out the best route to get to China. Europeans were seeking that route. How do we get to China that is the fastest, the most economical, and the best way for us to get there? The safest, too. And so they wanted to find that faster route to Asia. So just keep in mind that Europeans at this time, they pretty much believed that the land you're seeing on that map there was the only land in existence. They had no idea about North and South America. They did know about Australia, but however, they did not think there was a North or South America. So, Christopher Columbus. Now, in today's world, he's kind of frowned upon, but that doesn't change the fact that we're going to talk about him. He was, in fact, a person who was one of the few people that came to America, and he set forth a cosmic chain of events. So we're still going to talk about him. You may not agree with what he stands for or what he did or his past or what he was all about, and I don't either. I mean, I can't say that I know exactly the whole truth, but I am going to tell you the facts about Christopher Columbus. We're not going to talk about all the negative impacts or the negative things that he's been associated with here recently in the news. But we'll talk about some of the things that we do know. So he was an Italian sailor who sought an alternative route to Asia instead of traveling over land to the east. So he thought, I want to go to Asia, but I think I'm going to sail west. And I think if I sail west, I can just go straight to Europe, or straight from Europe to Asia. And I won't even have to cross that much ocean. So he thought he would sail west from the Indies to reach Asia. From Europe to the Indies and Asia. He asked Spain for funding for an expedition to sail west and reach Asia. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who were the king and queen of Spain, funded his expedition to search for an all-water route to Asia by sailing west. And he also had to spread Christianity. And he also had to find gold. So those were the things. He needed to find gold, he needed to spread Christianity, and he needed to find a new route to Asia. So in October 1492, Columbus and his men aboard 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, They discovered what he believed to be Asia, or the Indies. So when Columbus set sail, he was on the ocean for several months. His crew had almost given up. They were almost mutiny. And they almost said, we're going to turn back, because they thought it would only take a month to get to Asia. And in fact, they had been out there for 3 months. So they were about to abandon ship. But they spotted land, and they had landed in the Caribbean islands, right south of Florida. But Columbus thought he was in Asia. He actually started calling the native people there Indians, because he thought he was in India or Indonesia. So he actually had discovered the Caribbean islands south of present-day Florida, and he died believing he had discovered a western water route to Asia. He actually went there 4 times, and every time he still thought he was in Asia. So this discovery of new lands would lead to a new explorations and the birth of the USA. So as more explorers started to take this journey, they realized, this isn't Asia. And Columbus wasn't right. This isn't a new water route to Asia. This is, in fact, a whole new area. All right, so, whoops. Sorry. Next, we have improvements in technology. So we have a carrack is larger and faster that could carry supplies for a long voyage. So that's a boat. A caravel is a ship smaller than a carrack but easier to handle. Then we have a compass, which would tell you what direction you are headed towards, and it pointed to north, so you knew which direction to follow. And then you had an astrolabe, a device that was used to determine where the stars were and determine latitude, and then a quadrant, a device that measured the altitude. So these were all new devices that they had in this time. All right, moving on to other explorers. So we have, after Columbus, because Columbus was in 1492, so Amerigo Vespucci was in 1502, so roughly 10 years later. He sailed along the South American coastline and concluded South America was a separate continent. So he sailed all along in there, and he's like, this is not Asia. This is actually a different continent. And he created a map depicting North and South America. In fact, America is named after him. Amerigo being his name, but America is what is the feminine name for that, and that being what they named America after. So then, after that, we have Vasco Núñez de Balboa. He explored western Panama and found the Pacific Ocean by crossing the small strip of land that is now the Panama Canal. Okay, so the small strip of land that is located between North and South America is called Panama, and it has the Panama Canal today, so you can drive a ship through there. But he found the Pacific Ocean by crossing that little bitty piece of land, and he was the first to reach the Pacific Ocean by sailing west. Then you have Ferdinand Magellan. His crew was the first to circumnavigate the world. Okay, so that means that his crew went all the way around the world for the first time ever in the history of navigating. So, but he didn't make it. He actually died on the journey and didn't survive the whole time. But his crew actually sailed all the way around the world. So he was the first one, his crew, Ferdinand Magellan. All right, so the next slide that we're going to talk about is the Columbian Exchange. All right, so the vocabulary that goes along with this is technology, the use of scientific knowledge for practice purposes. A strait, a narrow water passage between larger bodies of water. So that's when 2 pieces of land are pretty close together, but you can still sail between them. A compass, navigation aid that shows the direction in which someone is traveling. So that's like the compass that shows where points towards the north. And then circumnavigate, which we just talked about, is to go around completely. So that was Ferdinand Magellan and his crew. So they circumnavigated the world. All right. So, the Columbian Exchange. You can see on this map here that the Columbian Exchange is actually where things left North America and traveled back to Europe, and then either traveled to Africa and then back to, and then goods traveled from Africa to America. And it's just this cycle. It's this constant cycle of goods that are in and goods that are out. So the exchange of people, plants, animals, and germs from the eastern and western hemispheres, Old World and the New World. So you'll often hear North America as called the New World, and Europe called the Old World. So if you do hear that, that's what it's referring to. Notice that it did say germs. So diseases were brought from Europe that weren't here in America. And that was one of the big killing factors for the Native Americans here in America that had never seen or been exposed to those diseases. That really hurt their population for many, many years because they were not immune to those diseases. Crops were being grown in the New World that were desired in the Old World, such as tobacco, rice, and indigo. So things that began being grown in America, tobacco, rice, and indigo, started the Europeans began wanting those goods, and they would send them on ships back to Europe. And then new technology, weapons, slaves, and livestock were brought to the New World from Europe. So cattle and horses, they weren't in North America until the Europeans brought them here. So all of the Old West scenes that you see of cowboys and Indians, that was after the Europeans were here, because horses weren't here before that. Horses didn't arrive till the 1500s in North America and South America. Unfortunately, the New World natives were being exposed to the diseases they were not immune to. So I just talked about that. These goods being brought in and out of North America also brought diseases that were deadly for the Native Americans that were already here who had never been exposed to those diseases. All right, so that's the end of the slide. So I'm just checking, making sure. So this is the end of this PowerPoint. If you need to go back and review this, please do so. You can use this to answer your questions that you will be assigned, and then this is a great study tool for the tests that will be coming up.